Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I've been an entrepreneur ever since I could think about it, probably from about age 6 or 7. In those days, I was at primary school, and we had a fundraising activity, so I asked my mother to make a famous walnut fudge. Needless to say, we made so much money doing it that after that I came home and said, Mommy, I have a real good idea. How about if you continue to make that fudge, and I will sell it so that I can make money to have pocket change, right? Then from 16, every Christmas vacation till graduation, I was hired as a Revlon rep at a very popular drugstore on High Street in San Fernando. Let's just say that the fact that Charlie's perfume, I'm not too sure if people still know Charlie's, but in those days, I probably would be the person that they'd say that had Charlie's on the map. Because what I would do is I'd make sure that I'd stand up there and I'd spot my victim, that they're coming through the door. And I'll grab them over and I'll show them all the lines and I'll make sure they wouldn't leave without buying something from me. Talk about sales pitch, a good since I'm young. In a short time, I was known as a Charlie's lady, much to the delight of the pharmacy owner. I really think that much of my wild entrepreneurial spirit was already in my genes. As the video showed, I had a lot of influence from my grandfather, but it also came from my environment. Business was an integral part of my family. I was exposed to it from very young, literally from the time I could walk or I could talk. Coming from a business family, I learned from early to think and act like a business person. Having left school and ventured out into the real world, I was doing exceptionally well. I'm selling everything from digital watches to toilet bowls. At 21, I even launched Hardware and Oilfields wholesale business, and it grew under my watch to be quite a profitable business unit. I even tried my hands at exporting shrimp to Grenada. Hey, Grenada didn't have shrimp, so the entrepreneur me saw the opportunity. Try to picture me zipping around on a red scooter with a box of melting shrimp on the back, me visiting all these restaurants and the hotels, trying to ply my trade and to build my export. In hindsight, I think people there must have thought I was some kind of madwoman. The point is, I was making a very decent living, but my grandfather always was behind me to go and get my degree, to put that paper on the wall, he would say. Needless to say, I was really making a lot of money in those days. It took a little arm twisting, but at 27, I made a decision to head out to university. And then I went to Washington State University, but when you say Washington, I don't mean East Coast Washington, I mean West Coast Washington. For people who know Washington, talk about cold and talk about far. Perhaps my biggest achievement at that time was winning the very coveted presidential scholarship. People of color and people who were not US citizens could never win it, and I did. But needless to say, with all that coal, I really couldn't take it. After a year, I just decided I would move to Florida, where I could come home when I wanted, and that was pretty nice. And then I attended Florida International University, where I did a double major in marketing and management. Putting all my academic achievements aside, perhaps the most important thing that my university tenure taught me was how to focus. I learned how to focus. Forget all the A's, forget all the awards, forget all the recognition. I learned how to focus. I saw the merit in focusing on the one thing I was passionate about. So instead of accepting my mother's offer to buy me a graduation ring, I looked at her and said, Mom, you mind if I do buy a ring? She was a little bit confused. She was cool. She said, what do you want to buy, Allison? I said, I want to buy a fax machine. No, y'all don't laugh, because at that time, that was really a really big invention. That was 1991. And guess what? This focused Trinbagonian, I came home. I really wasn't staying in USA for all the tea in China. Home was home for me. I wasn't sure if Trinidad and Tobago was ready for me, but I surely was ready for Trinidad and Tobago. I would never forget, once home, I mentioned to my mom that I wanted to go into my own business, and all she didn't do was hit the ceiling. Because remember, I just come back with a degree, and she said, with all that money we spent on your education, getting you a degree, that's what you want to do? Open your own business? You must be mad, right? I guess at that time, she imagined me as some big-time executive in some big-time firm, some conglomerate, posing on the papers every week, getting something for recognition for some milestone achieved. Perhaps that is every parent's dream. But I was determined to do my own thing. And with a bit of persuasion, eventually Mommy came around, and with her absolute blessings, I started my first business venture, all-round trading, in 1991. And my vision was to supply the market with quality promotional items at an affordable price. I wanted to offer specialties that were unique, that had never been seen before on the market. I felt my potential clients had grown tired of those boring pens, pencils, the heat seal items. I don't know if people know what those are, like driving permit covers. You know, remember those things from 20 years ago? The last generation? Interestingly, when I came back, nobody saw me as a threat. None of my competitors anyway. But I worked hard night and day, and I would tell you, I put in many, many nights, because as I was dealing with China, and China, you know, I wanted to deal with China, and that is like, you know, it takes a lot of time because of the 12-hour difference. Anyway, so I worked really, really hard day and night to find ways to keep my items interesting and affordable. Within a short time, I left my competitors far behind, literally fast asleep. Perhaps one of my fondest memories in the earlies was my approaching a big client to secure their keyring business. I didn't have a clue where to get the keyrings, but I played fast, and I went and I took the order. And when I finally located the supplier in the United States, I was losing so much money, I couldn't sleep. And then I remembered a Hong Kong magazine that somebody had given it to me, and I really don't remember where I got it from. But anyway, and I realized in this magazine had a lot of ads for people in Hong Kong offering all sorts of things. So anybody remotely interested involved in what I was looking for, I would write them. And guess what I used to do it? That big investment fax machine, right? When I got the price, my mouth literally dropped open. I was making a killing. Can I make a killing on my client's head? But I still couldn't sleep, because I was feeling so guilty to make so much money that I went back to the client and I said, hey now, I think I overcharged you for those keyrings, eh? And I gave them a $10,000 discount. Needless to say, my client was extremely happy. And to this day, I still have that client, because guess what? Anytime they wave, I'd remind them about that $10,000 I saved them 20 years ago. And another very fond memory of mine is when Mom would invite her friends over, and she'd say something like, come and see Allison now, she's inside. She's inside in her office, her storeroom, her showroom. Yes, I started my business in my bedroom. In 1994, I made my first trip to China. And since then, it has become my annual pilgrimage. I have gained so much experience in sourcing from the Far East that I'm fondly now called the China Queen. It's very flattering when once I, in little Trinidad and Tobago, received an inquiry from a Chinese company asking me where they could find something in China. This trench coat lady, I could always pull some kind of information from up my sleeve. With my entrepreneurial fire always burning, I just really couldn't stick to promotional items. Oh gosh, entrepreneurs, we always want to look out for some new idea and some new opportunity. We get an itch after a while, and hence the birth of Office Plus. We've had to swim with the sharks, and we've held our own for most of the part. But we've had our challenges. What I vividly remember was when I was the beginning of a 3-week, 7-country visit in the Far East, and I was sitting in a karaoke bar with one of my career suppliers, when I received a phone call from somebody in my office telling me that a tender that I'd been waiting for was out, and I'd have 10 days literally to prepare it. And I'd waited for this opportunity for months. So what I did is I flew home, and then I flew somebody back out. I worked on the tender day and night to get it done, submitted it, and then I flew back out to meet the person. Well, to cut a long story short, $50,000 later, poorer I should say, plus opportunities lost to press some flesh abroad, it turned out that the company already had its preferred supplier, and we were only being used as 2 other tenders to make it appear transparent. So, like I say, you win some and you lose some, as frustrating as it could be for the honest business person like me. Today, Office Plus is now a full-service provider of office solutions, and we work with our clients to help them in their space planning and as well their office design. We offer anything from office chairs to desking, office partitions to archival storage, evaporative coolers, alkaline water coolers, as well as a fabulous hand dryer that actually dries your hands in 12 to 15 seconds. It's amazing how in business, very much like in life, one experience leads you to another, especially when you pursue your passion. I've always been very interested in the natural environment, especially as I grew up in Trinidad when it was a lot more pristine. So I decided to see how I could introduce the green element into the products that we sold. The idea was to bring in products that were environmentally friendly, and yet people could understand that they did not necessarily need to be more expensive. We've introduced a line of recycled office stationery, and we're expanding to include a line of remanufactured inkjet and toner cartridges. I was so excited about the positive impact that these seemingly small measures could have on our carbon footprint that I became more and more inspired to follow this passion, which seemed inextricably linked to my desire to give back to the wider community. I've also always had a very strong interest in construction, particularly prefabricated buildings, because to me, they represented an opportunity to provide affordable housing. Where other people saw cheap and second grade, the entrepreneur in me saw untapped potential. But the key was simply in finding that right system. And here is where I learned perhaps one of my most important lessons and hardest lessons in business. I'd been looking for about 10 years to find that perfect solution when I fell upon a system from Europe, and I would say the word fell because what I will tell you next will explain. Excited to secure the rights for that particular system, I made 2 trips to Europe, and I visited the company, and 1 month later, 4 representatives from that company came down to Trinidad, and we were able to do presentations to the government agencies, architects, engineers. We had a blast. I showed them the best of Trinidad and Tobago. The visit was a huge success, or so I thought. I had finally found the right solution, but guess what? They came, they left, and plenty thousands of borrowed money to secure the franchise to Trinidad and Tobago. I'm yet to hear from them or get anything further from them. Contracts were signed, but you try to sue somebody in a foreign country. It's a very challenging thing. So if there are any great lawyers out there who are interested in helping me, please feel free to check me after. But you would think that that would stop me, wouldn't you? That I would be discouraged to the point of giving up. Oh no, not me. Not this crazy Allison Magalhaes, not at all. I took a risk and I lost a lot of money. But that's all I lost. Money, not my spirit. Not my gut instinct that the right system could be found. So I forged ahead. And that's what sets an entrepreneur apart from everybody else. The ability to chalk it up to experience, pick yourself up, dust off your clothes, learn from it, and move on. I believe that there was something better for me, and it came to me shortly after in the form of Plasol, which is a prefabricated building system that I have absolutely total confidence in. I am so convinced of its merits that I started my 3rd company, Go Green Building Technologies. And that was the purpose for that was I was going to be able to sell affordable houses that anybody and everybody in Trinidad could own. I am so convinced of the merits that I ordered four containers of the raw materials, including the equipment to set the factory up. And however, we're still creeping. We just started because we only landed our last container about 2 weeks ago. What sets Plasol apart from any other system is its combination of its strength and its ease of construction. Also, as Plasol uses fewer raw materials and its prefabricated walls are transported from the factory directly to the building site, it reduces the need to source several materials from many different suppliers. It must be noted that Trinidad and Tobago is ranked very high in pollution per capita. Go Green will therefore not only help reduce the cost to the client, but at the same time it will help reduce the carbon footprint of Trinidad and Tobago. I so firmly believe that I have perhaps one of the best teams in Trinidad and Tobago. So to them, I say a very, very big thank you. We each have an entrepreneurial story to tell, big or small. I have laid mine out in what I so fondly call the anatomy of an entrepreneur. Let me share it with you. The caricature you're seeing there, that's me. That's my brother's rendition of me 20 years from now. The first thing I'd like to talk about is education and experience. I'm not saying that you have to have a university degree, but education is always an asset once you approach it as learning and not simply passing an exam to get a piece of paper. The more that you can be exposed to business practices, and successful be they, and the habits to help foster them, the better. You must have vision. A successful entrepreneur has to have vision. You must be able to see past your current reality to imagine the possibility of what could be. You have to believe in your idea enough to see it through to fruition. And very often, it offers rewards that are far greater than you ever could have imagined. Your ears, the power of listening. In Trinidad and Tobago, oh God, we love to talk. We love to hear ourselves speak. We're famous for it. But you miss so much if you don't know how to listen. Much of my success in business is because I listen to my clients' needs. Only then can you get back with your team and create solutions that are tailored for your client's specific challenges. Listening is a sign of respect, and it's a smart way, it's a smart business skill to nurture. Talkers who never listen, we know them as smart men. Listeners are smart business people, smart businessmen, and also smart businesswomen. The ability to sniff out opportunities. You know the saying, the nose knows? A successful entrepreneur knows how to sniff out good business opportunities. Where others see obstacles, entrepreneurs see solutions. We never say, it can't be done. We ask, how can we make this work? Then you must have the gift of the gab. Well, you'd probably say I'm contradicting myself, wouldn't you? Because I just told you you need to be a good listener. Well, there are also times when we need to talk, and it helps if you have the gift of the gab when it comes to selling. This is not talking for talking's sake. It's about believing in what you're selling and talking just enough to share information to your clients and to infuse them with the same belief in your product that you have. The ability to talk is also a very great icebreaker, and it puts people at ease. Your heart. The heart symbolizes so much. It's the lifeblood of the body and of the business person. To be successful, you have to have a genuine love and a great respect for people. You must value relationships and strive to preserve them, even over the immediate bottom line. The heart speaks to the passion you have for the products that you sell. With Go Green, I feel really good about offering an affordable, quality building solution that will allow everybody to own a home and to have it as a legacy to pass on from generation to generation. The heart also represents courage, to stick to your convictions, to do the right thing, and to take risks. Your guts, your belly. Speaking of risks, entrepreneurs have to have guts. You have to have belly. Part of growth in business is taking risks, financial and otherwise. There's always a possibility that you might be wrong, but you have to have the stomach to forge ahead. If you're excited about something, if you really believe in an idea, if you can't stop talking about it, it's a sign to take a risk and go for it. Integrity. Ethics in business is far rarer now than it used to be. The truth is that no business, no matter how innovative, no matter how its products or services meet a demand, none of them will survive in the long term if it doesn't operate in integrity. Your word has to be your bond. When a customer and I shake hands on a deal, he or she knows it's as good as a written contract. Know when to walk away. You know that Kenny Rogers country song, The Gambler? Well, there's a line in it that says, know when to walk away, know when to run. That's excellent advice. In the end, if I hadn't walked away from that first prefab deal gone sour, I would never have landed up with Plasol. And trust your instinct. If something doesn't feel right, walk away. Even if it feels right but goes wrong, pack your bags, move on. Networking. And I know that you trainees would like this part. A successful entrepreneur is always, always well connected. The reality is, to do business with people, you have to network with them. And in Trinidad and Tobago, that's the fun part. You don't have to work the stuffy cocktail party circuit to be well connected. Trainees, we could network anywhere. At the beach, at a sporting event, a popular lineman spot. Yes, a couple of beverages here and there won't hurt. We always know somebody who will introduce us to that somebody we don't know. And at the end of your line, sorry, time for networking. You would have at least met 2 to 3 people with whom you might be able to do business with in the future. Always have that business card ready to hand out to them. And finally, what I consider to be the most important lesson when it comes to this part of your anatomy is that no matter how smart you think you are, you're not God. You're fallible. You will make mistakes, and you're actually not in control as you think you are. It's good to be reminded of that. It keeps you humble. Without genuine love for your higher being, his blessings, and his strong guidance, you and I are nothing. We are simply dust in the wind. I leave you with my grandfather's advice. A product well bought is half sold. Anybody can buy a product. The real question is, can you sell it? A true entrepreneur can. Thank you, and God's blessings.